Some mistakes are loud. They shout and break things and leave no room for doubt. Others are quiet. They happen in the space between a breath and a thought. Those mistakes change lives the most. Noah Vale made a quiet mistake on a Monday morning. The city was already awake when Noah stepped out of the bus. Tall glass buildings reached into the sky like they were trying to touch something important. Cars rushed past. People walked fast, eyes forward, voices sharp and busy. Noah stayed close to the sidewalk, holding his work bag tight, counting his steps in his head the way he always did when he felt nervous. Today was his first day at Blackwood Group. Everyone in the city knew the name. Blackwood Group was powerful. Rich. Cold. People said once you entered the building you either became strong, or you broke. Noah needed the job too badly to be afraid. He touched the small bracelet on his wrist, the one his twin brother Eli gave him years ago. It was old and worn, but it helped him breathe. Eli always said, "When words fail, remember who you are." Noah lifted his head and walked inside. The building was quiet in a sharp way. Shoes clicked on clean floors. Screens glowed on walls. People moved like they had places to be and no time to slow down. Noah followed the signs until he reached the office floor he was assigned to. A woman with short hair and kind eyes smiled at him. Her name tag read Mrs. Hart. "You must be Noah," she said slowly, then paused when she saw his notebook and pen. Noah smiled back and nodded. He wrote, "Yes. Thank you for having me." Mrs. Hart read it and nodded. "You can sit over there. The CEO may come by today." The word CEO made Noah's chest tighten. Adrian Blackwood. The alpha everyone feared. Noah sat at his desk and focused on his work. He typed carefully. He checked numbers twice. He did everything quietly and correctly. Still, time moved fast, and before he knew it, a shadow fell across his desk. The air felt heavier. Noah looked up. Adrian Blackwood stood there, tall and still, dressed in dark clothes that matched his sharp eyes. The room seemed to hold its breath. Even the lights felt colder. "You're late," Adrian said. The words were calm, but they cut deep. Noah's heart jumped. He stood quickly, bowing his head. He tried to explain, pointing to his watch and then to the bus schedule, his hands moving fast. His throat tightened when he tried to speak, and only a small sound came out. Some people nearby watched. A few whispered. Adrian frowned. "This is not how we do things here." Noah's face burned. He sat back down slowly, hands shaking under the desk. His chest felt tight, like all the air had left the room. That was when Noah made his mistake. Hidden from view, his hands moved. He signed words he had never said out loud. Words full of hurt and anger. Words he had carried since the day someone promised him safety and then walked away. Cold. Cruel. You don't even look at people. Noah believed no one could understand him. But the room went very still. Adrian stopped talking. Slowly, the alpha's eyes lowered, not to Noah's face but to his hands. The silence stretched. Then Adrian did something no one expected. His own hand lifted. And he signed back. Careful. Noah froze. His breath caught. His fingers stopped midair. His heart pounded so loudly he was sure everyone could hear it. Adrian's voice was calm, but his eyes were sharp. "My office. After lunch." He turned and walked away as if nothing had happened. Around Noah, the office returned to life. People talked again. Screens blinked. Shoes clicked. But Noah couldn't move. The world felt different now. Smaller. Brighter. Dangerous. He stared at his hands like they had betrayed him. All these years, sign language had been his safe place. His shield. His secret voice. Now the most powerful alpha in the building had heard it. Noah swallowed hard. He didn't know if he was in trouble. He didn't know if he would lose his job. What he didn't know, what scared him most, was that this was only the beginning of a story that would test his heart, break old wounds open, and force him to choose who he would become. And somewhere far away, a truth tied to his missing twin was already moving closer. Noah spent the rest of the day pretending to work. His hands moved across the keyboard, but his thoughts were locked on one thing: the office on the top floor. Every time the elevator bell rang, his heart jumped. Every shadow felt like it belonged to Adrian Blackwood. When lunch ended, Mrs. Hart stopped beside his desk. "The CEO is ready for you," she said gently. Noah nodded and stood up. His legs felt weak, but he forced them to move. He held his notebook tight against his chest like a shield. The elevator ride was quiet. Too quiet. The numbers climbed slowly, and with each floor, Noah's thoughts grew louder. "I should not have signed those words. I should have stayed invisible. I can't lose this job." The elevator doors opened. Adrian Blackwood's office was made of glass and steel. The walls were clear, Yet the room felt closed off from the rest of the world. A large desk sat near the window, facing the city like it owned it. Adrian stood with his back turned, looking out over the buildings. "You can sit," he said without turning around. Noah sat slowly, careful not to make noise. He placed his notebook on his lap. His fingers twisted together. Adrian turned at last and leaned against the desk. His face showed no anger, but his eyes missed nothing. "You use sign language," Adrian said. Noah nodded. "You thought no one here could understand you." Noah nodded again, shame warming his cheeks. Adrian lifted one hand and signed clearly, carefully, like each word mattered. "How long?" Noah blinked, surprised. He answered with his hands. "Since I was a child." Adrian watched closely. "What?" Noah hesitated. His hands trembled. Then he signed. "I lost my voice after something bad happened. It hurts to speak." The room felt heavier. Adrian didn't push. He nodded once. "I learned sign language years ago," Adrian said aloud. "Someone important to me needed it. I never forgot." Noah looked up, curious despite his fear. Adrian stepped closer, not too close. "What you signed earlier," he continued, "would have gotten others fired." Noah's heart sank. He bowed his head and signed quickly. "I'm sorry. I was upset. It won't happen again." Adrian studied him for a long moment. Then he said something Noah did not expect. "You weren't wrong." Noah froze. Adrian crossed his arms. "I can be cold. This company taught me to be." Noah's hands slowly lifted. "Then why am I here?" Adrian's eyes softened just a little. "Because you're honest, and because you didn't know I could hear you." Noah swallowed. "There's something else," Adrian added. "Someone like you does not end up here by accident." Noah stiffened. Adrian slid a thin file across the desk. Noah recognized his own name on it. "You transferred here quietly. No family listed. No emergency contact except a name that no longer exists." Noah's breath caught. "Eli," his mind whispered. Adrian watched Noah's reaction carefully. "Your twin," he said softly. "He disappeared 5 years ago." Noah's hands shook as he signed. "You shouldn't know that." "I know many things," Adrian replied. "Including that someone tried to erase your past." The words hit like a storm. Noah's chest hurt. His memories rose, Eli laughing, Eli warning him, Eli saying, "If anything happens to me, don't trust easy smiles." Tears filled Noah's eyes, but he wiped them away quickly. Adrian stepped back, giving him space. "You are safe here," he said. "For now." Noah looked up sharply. "For now," he signed. Adrian nodded. "Because people from your past may notice you again." The office felt colder. "Work hard," Adrian said. "Keep your head down. And don't sign things you don't want answered." Noah nodded slowly. As he stood to leave, Adrian added one last thing. "And Noah, if you ever need to speak without sound, my door is not closed." Noah paused at the door. For the first time since he entered the building, he felt something strange. Not fear. Not relief. But the sense that his quiet life had just been seen, and that nothing would stay hidden much longer. Outside the office, the world continued as usual. But for Noah Vale, the silence was no longer empty. It was listening. The next morning felt heavier than the last. Noah arrived early, hoping to disappear into his desk before anyone noticed him. But the office felt different now. He could feel eyes on him, curious, careful, watchful. Word traveled fast in places like this, even without sound. He kept his head down and worked. Around mid-morning, Mrs. Hart hurried past his desk, whispering to someone on the phone. Her voice was tense but excited. "They've arrived," she said. "Yes." "Storm Industries." Noah's fingers paused above the keyboard. Storm Industries. The name brushed against something old in his memory, like a page he had tried not to open. He shook his head and focused on his screen, telling himself it meant nothing. Then laughter filled the room. It wasn't loud or cruel. It was warm, easy, and real. The kind of laugh that didn't belong in cold places. Noah looked up before he could stop himself. A man stood near the center of the office, tall but relaxed, wearing a light-colored suit that felt out of place among the dark ones. His eyes moved carefully across the room, not judging, not rushing. Then those eyes landed on Noah. The smile faded. The man took a step closer, slow and unsure, like he was walking toward a memory he wasn't sure wanted him back. "Noah?" he said softly. Noah's breath caught. His hands trembled as he signed without thinking. "Leo?" Leo Storm smiled again, this time smaller, gentler. "You remember?" Of course Noah remembered. Leo Storm had been there before the silence. Before Mason. before everything broke. He had been the alpha who waited for Noah to finish signing. The alpha who never laughed when Noah struggled to speak. You disappeared, Leo said quietly. I looked for you. Noah swallowed hard. He sighed. I didn't want to be found. Leo nodded like he understood more than Noah said. Before either of them could speak again, Adrian Blackwood appeared. His presence changed the air instantly. Storm, Adrian said coolly. Blackwood, Leo replied, polite but sharp. Two alphas stood facing each other, both powerful in very different ways. Leo glanced at Noah. I didn't know he worked here. Adrian's eyes flicked to Noah, then back to Leo. He does. There was something in that sentence Noah couldn't read. The meeting began soon after. Noah sat quietly at the edge of the room, taking notes, translating data, doing his job. But he felt Leo's gaze on him more than once. After the meeting, Leo waited. When the room cleared, he stepped closer. Can we talk? He asked gently. Noah hesitated, then nodded. They walked to a quiet corner near the windows. You're different, Leo said carefully. But you're still you. Noah signed slowly. I'm trying to be. Leo smiled. I never stopped thinking about you. Noah looked away. His past felt too close, too heavy. Before he could answer, another voice cut in. Well, this is interesting. Noah turned. Mason Reed stood there. His hair was neat. His smile was sharp. His eyes were the same ones Noah remembered, always watching, always wanting something. No avail, Mason said. Still hiding behind your hands? The room seemed to shrink. Leo stepped slightly in front of Noah without thinking. Mason, Leo said coldly. Didn't expect to see you here. Mason chuckled. Business brings old friends together. Noah's hands shook as memories rushed back. Promises whispered, trust broken, nights spent waiting for someone who never came. Mason leaned closer. You look better quiet, he said softly. Less trouble that way. Before Noah could respond, Adrian's voice cut through the tension. That's enough. Adrian stood nearby, eyes sharp. This is my building, Adrian said. And my employee. Mason raised his hands in mock peace. No harm meant. But his eyes stayed on Noah. That night, Noah couldn't sleep. Mason was here. Leo was here. Adrian was watching everything. And somewhere in the middle of it all was the truth about Eli, still hidden, still waiting. Noah sat on his bed and stared at his hands. For years, silence had kept him safe. Now silence was pulling attention he could not escape. And deep down, Noah felt it. The past was no longer behind him. It was standing right in front of him, smiling. The days after Mason's return felt slow and sharp at the same time. Noah noticed it first in the small things. Conversation stopped when he walked by. Screens were tilted away from him. Smiles that once felt normal now looked forced. He did his work quietly, but the air around him felt tight, like a rope pulled too hard. Mason Reed was talking. He didn't shout. He didn't accuse. He smiled and planted words like seeds, knowing they would grow on their own. Noah saw him near the coffee station one morning, laughing softly with two managers. When Noah passed, Mason's voice lowered, just enough to be noticed. Some people get special treatment, Mason said lightly. Not everyone earns their place. Noah kept walking, his face calm, his hands steady. But inside something twisted. By midday, Mrs. Hart approached his desk with a worried look. Adrian wants to see you, she said. It's about a report. Noah nodded, though his chest tightened. He gathered his papers and went upstairs, counting his steps again like he used to. Adrian listened as Noah explained, using his notebook and careful signs. The report was correct. Noah knew it was. Adrian checked the numbers himself. You didn't make a mistake, Adrian said at last. Noah exhaled quietly. But someone wanted me to think you did, Adrian continued. Noah looked up. Mason questioned your work, Adrian said. Said you might not be ready for this level. Noah's hands curled into fists. He signed slowly. I didn't do anything wrong. I know, Adrian said. There was a pause. Still, Adrian added, this place eats people who don't fight back. Noah swallowed. I don't know how to fight like you. Adrian studied him. You don't need to fight like me. When Noah returned to his desk, Leo was waiting. You okay? Leo asked softly. Noah nodded, then hesitated and shook his head. Leo didn't push. He simply sat beside him and waited. Noah finally sighed. Mason is trying to turn people against me. Leo's jaw tightened. He's always done that. Smile first. Strike later. Noah looked at him. Why does he hate me so much? Leo hesitated. Because you remind him of what he threw away. That night, Noah stayed late to finish his work. The office emptied slowly until only the hum of machines remained. He liked the quiet, it reminded him of safer times. As he packed his bag, he noticed a folder on the printer. His name was on it. His heart pounded as he opened it. Inside were copies of his employment file. Notes written in red. Words like unstable, limited, risk. Noah's hands trembled. Someone had taken his past and turned it into a weapon. He didn't need to guess who. The elevator ride down felt longer than usual. When the doors opened, Noah stepped out into the cool evening air, trying to breathe. That was when he heard footsteps behind him. Running already? Mason's voice. Noah turned slowly. I warned you, Mason said, walking closer. Places like this don't protect people like you. Noah signed, his movements sharp. You don't get to decide who I am. Mason smiled. I already did. Years ago. The words hurt more than Noah expected. Before Mason could say more, another voice cut in. That's enough. Leo stepped between them, his presence firm and steady. You touch him, Leo said calmly, and we'll have a real problem. Mason laughed softly. Always the hero. Always the coward, Leo replied. Mason's smile faded for just a second. He stepped back. Enjoy your job, Noah. Let's see how long it lasts. When Mason left, Noah's legs felt weak. Leo placed a hand near Noah's shoulder but didn't touch. You don't have to face him alone. Noah looked up, eyes tired. I don't want to be protected because I'm weak. Leo shook his head. You're not weak. You're just healing. The word settled deep inside Noah. Healing. At home, Noah sat on his bed and took out the bracelet Eli gave him. He traced the worn edges with his thumb. Eli had once told him, truth lasts longer than lies. Noah wiped his eyes and straightened his shoulders. Mason wanted him small, silent, afraid. Noah would not give him that. Tomorrow he would stop hiding. And the truth, about his past, about Eli, about everything Mason tried to bury, was closer than anyone realized. Noah woke before his alarm. The room was still dark, but his mind was already moving. Mason's smile from the night before stayed with him like a shadow that refused to leave. Noah sat up slowly and pressed his feet to the floor, breathing in and out until his chest stopped hurting. For a long time he had believed staying quiet would keep him safe. Now he understood something important. Silence could protect, but it could also be used to trap him. At work, Noah arrived earlier than usual. The office was quiet the way he liked it. He opened his computer and began organizing files, not just for his job but for himself. He copied reports, saved emails, and carefully noted changes that didn't make sense. He wasn't searching for trouble. He was preparing. By mid-morning, a meeting was called. Department heads gathered in the main conference room. Adrian stood at the front, calm and unreadable. Noah sat near the back, notebook in hand. Mason entered late. He smiled as if he owned the room and took a seat across from Noah. When their eyes met, Mason's smile widened just a little. During the meeting, Mason spoke smoothly. He questioned timelines. He pointed out small errors that weren't errors at all. Each time, his eyes flicked toward Noah as if daring him to respond. Noah's hands tightened around his pen. Then Adrian asked a simple question. Who prepared the data for the fourth quarter review? Noah raised his hand slowly. Mason leaned back in his chair. I hope it was double-checked, he said lightly. Some people struggle under pressure. The room grew quiet. Noah stood. His legs shook but his back stayed straight. He walked to the front, placed his notebook on the table and turned it so everyone could see. He didn't speak. Instead he signed. His movements were calm, clear, confident. Mrs. Hart, who understood some signs, began reading aloud for others. Noah says the data was reviewed 3 times, she said. He says every change was approved and time-stamped. Noah flipped a page. Mrs. Hart continued, her voice steady. He says the only altered files came from an outside login. The room stirred. Adrian's eyes sharpened. Outside login? Noah nodded and pointed to the screen, where he had already prepared the file trail. Mason's smile faltered. That's impossible, Mason said quickly. Adrian looked at him. Is it? The meeting ended shortly after, but the air felt different. People whispered again, but this time they looked at Noah with surprise instead of doubt. When Noah returned to his desk, Leo was waiting. That was brave, Leo said quietly. Noah signed. I was terrified. Leo smiled. Brave people usually are. Later that day, Adrian called Noah into his office. You handled yourself well, Adrian said. Noah signed carefully. I didn't want to cause trouble. You didn't, Adrian replied. You exposed it. He paused. Mason is not finished. Noah met his gaze. Neither am I. That evening, as Noah left the building, his phone vibrated. A message from an unknown number appeared. Stop digging. Noah's hands trembled, but he didn't delete the message. At home, he opened a small box he hadn't touched in years. Inside were old notes, flash drives, and a folded paper written in Eli's handwriting. If you're reading this, I was right to be afraid. Noah's breath caught. Eli had been investigating something. Money moving where it shouldn't, names hidden behind companies. One name appeared more than once. Mason Reed. Noah pressed his hand to his mouth, holding back a sound that wanted to escape. The truth wasn't just close. It was already in his hands. The next morning, Mason cornered Noah near the elevators. You think you're clever? Mason said softly. Careful. People like you break easily. Noah looked at him calmly. Then Noah signed. People like me remember everything. Mason's eyes darkened. As the elevator doors closed, Noah stood tall, his reflection staring back at him. For the first time in years, he didn't look like someone waiting to be saved. He looked like someone who had decided to fight, quietly, carefully, and on his own terms. And somewhere deep inside, the silence that once held him back was learning how to stand. Noah did not sleep that night. Eli's handwriting stayed in his mind, clear and sharp, like his brother was sitting beside him, speaking without sound. Noah read the note again and again, careful not to tear the paper. Every word felt important. Eli had been scared but not helpless. By morning, Noah made a decision. At work, he didn't rush. He didn't hide. He moved with quiet purpose, greeting Mrs. Hart with a small smile and settling at his desk like it was exactly where he belonged. Adrian noticed. So did Mason. The first message arrived before lunch. You don't know what you're touching. Noah stared at the screen. His hands were steady now. He saved the message and locked his phone. During lunch, Leo joined him in the break room carrying 2 cups of tea. You look like someone who found answers, Leo said gently. Noah signed. I found questions that won't leave me alone. Leo nodded. That's how it starts. Noah hesitated, then showed Leo Eli's note. Leo read it slowly, his face tightening with each line. This is serious, Leo said. Eli wasn't just curious. He was close. Noah signed. Close enough to disappear. Leo didn't argue. That afternoon, Adrian called Noah into his office again. I've been reviewing old financial trails, Adrian said. Ones that matched the dates of your brother's disappearance. Noah's heart pounded. Adrian turned his screen so Noah could see. Numbers. Transfers. Shell companies. One name sat at the center. Mason Reed. Noah's hands lifted slowly. You knew. I suspected, Adrian replied. Now I'm certain. Noah signed, his movements tight. What happens now? Adrian leaned back. Now we move carefully. That word, carefully, mattered. The next few days passed in strange calm. Mason smiled more than usual. He joked. He shook hands. But his eyes followed Noah everywhere. One evening, as Noah packed up to leave, Mrs. Hart approached him quietly. Be careful tonight, she whispered. Someone's been asking about your schedule. Noah thanked her and took a longer route home, keeping to well-lit streets. Halfway there, his phone buzzed again. Last warning. Noah stopped walking. For years, fear had told him to run. This time he didn't. He typed a reply. You should have finished what you started. The message showed as read. At home, Noah locked the door and sat on the floor, breathing slowly. His hands shook, not from fear but from the weight of the truth. Eli hadn't vanished. He had been silenced. The next morning, everything changed. Authorities arrived at Blackwood Group. Quietly. Professionally. Files were requested. Systems were reviewed. Mason's smile disappeared. In the hallway, he grabbed Noah's arm. You think this ends well for you? Mason hissed. Noah pulled free and signed, his movements sharp and clear. This already ended. You just didn't know it. Mason stepped back, his face pale. By evening, Mason Reed was escorted out of the building. People watched in stunned silence. Noah stood still, heart racing. Leo appeared beside him. It's not over, he said softly. Noah nodded. I know. Later, Adrian stood with Noah in his office, the city lights glowing behind them. Your brother may still be alive, Adrian said carefully. There are signs someone kept him hidden. Noah's breath caught. Alive. He signed. Adrian nodded. If he is, we will find him. Noah closed his eyes, tears slipping free. For the first time in years, hope didn't feel dangerous. It felt necessary. That night, Noah stood by his window watching the city below. Silence no longer felt like absence. It felt like strength, gathering, waiting, ready to speak when it mattered most. And somewhere out there, a truth that refused to stay buried was finally finding its way back to the light. The building felt quieter after Mason left. Not empty, just calmer, like a storm had passed and left clean air behind. People walked more slowly. Smiles felt real again. Noah noticed small things he had been too tense to see before, like sunlight on the office floor and the soft sound of keys tapping nearby. But calm did not mean peace. Inside Noah, everything was still moving. Adrian asked Noah to take a few days off. Not because you're weak, he said. Because even strong people need space to heal. Noah didn't argue. He spent the first day walking through a small park near his apartment. Children played. Birds hopped along the paths. Life kept going even after pain. He sat on a bench and watched the sky. For a long time he had believed his silence made him broken. That if he couldn't speak like others he didn't deserve to be heard. Now he knew better. His hands had protected him. His hands had told the truth when words failed. On the second day Leo visited. He didn't bring questions. He brought food and quiet company. They sat on opposite ends of the table, sharing the space without pressure. Leo watched Noah sign a story about work, about stress, about small victories. You've grown, Leo said softly. Noah smiled. I had to. Leo hesitated. I used to think I could save you. Noah looked at him. I know now, Leo continued, that you never needed saving. The words settled gently between them. On the third day Adrian came. He stood at the door longer than necessary before stepping inside. I don't usually visit people, Adrian said. Noah signed. I noticed. Adrian almost smiled. They sat in silence for a while, watching the city through the window. You changed my company, Adrian said finally. Not by force. By being unmovable. Noah tilted his head. I was terrified the whole time. That doesn't cancel courage, Adrian replied. Something warm spread through Noah's chest. When Noah returned to work, his desk had moved, closer to the main office floor, not hidden away. Noah didn't miss the meaning. During a meeting, Adrian paused and signed a question instead of speaking. People watched. Some were surprised. Some curious. Noah answered. No laughter followed. No whispers. Only respect. Later Mrs. Hart squeezed Noah's shoulder. You've changed things, she said. That evening Noah received a message. A lead. Northern Docks. Warehouse 17. His hands shook. What? Adrian and Leo both insisted on going with him. Noah didn't argue. The warehouse was quiet and dark, but not empty. Inside they found signs, old bedding, food wrappers, a light that had been used recently. Proof. Eli had been there. Noah pressed his hand to the wall, breathing hard. He signed to himself. I'm coming. Back home, exhaustion caught up with him. Noah sat on his bed and let himself cry for the first time in a long while. Not from fear. From relief. From the simple truth that he had survived, and that survival could still lead to something soft and good. That night, Noah dreamed of Eli laughing, hands moving fast, signing words of encouragement. When Noah woke, the world felt lighter. Healing was not loud. It didn't announce itself. It came quietly, in moments of safety, in shared silence, in the understanding that pain did not get to decide the rest of his life. And Noah Vale, once afraid of his own voice, was learning how to breathe again. Revenge did not come to Noah as anger. It came as focus. The lead from the warehouse changed everything. It gave shape to hope and direction to fear. For the first time, Noah was not guessing anymore. He was following a path his brother had started. At Blackwood Group, Adrian worked quietly. Meetings were held behind closed doors. Files moved. Names were checked and checked again. Leo handled things differently. He talked. He listened. He let people underestimate him. Noah did neither. He watched. He noticed patterns the way he always had. Who avoided which questions. Which records didn't line up. Which times and dates repeated too often to be accidents. Truth left marks. One afternoon Noah found it. A transfer schedule hidden under a harmless title. Payments made to a security company that didn't exist anymore. Dates that matched the night Eli disappeared. Noah's hands trembled, not from fear but from certainty. This was it. He took the file straight to Adrian. Adrian read in silence, his jaw tightening with each line. This confirms it, he said. Mason didn't act alone. Noah signed. Who helped him? Adrian turned the screen. 2 names appeared. Both high-ranking. Both respected. Noah felt sick. They trusted me, Noah signed. I trusted them. Adrian's voice was firm. Trust doesn't make you weak. It makes them dangerous. The plan formed slowly. Not a strike. A reveal. Leo arranged a joint company event, a public one. Investors, media, executives. Everyone Mason once wanted to impress. Mason, still under investigation but not yet charged, accepted the invitation with confidence. He believed the worst had passed. He believed Noah was quiet again. On the day of the event, Noah wore a simple outfit. Nothing sharp. Nothing loud. He didn't need armor. He needed clarity. The hall filled with voices and movement. Screens glowed behind the stage. Adrian stood at the center, calm as ever. Mason arrived late. He smiled when he saw Noah. A small smile. Certain. The presentation began. Numbers first. Growth. Success. Then Adrian changed the slide. Dates appeared. Transfers. Connections. The room shifted. This, Adrian said clearly, is a record of misuse of funds tied to an illegal detention operation. Mason's smile vanished. Adrian continued. The evidence shows an attempt to silence a whistleblower. Leo stepped forward. A man named Eli Vale. Noah felt the room spin. Mason stood up. This is ridiculous, he snapped. Where is your proof? Adrian looked at Noah. For a moment, everything went quiet. Noah stepped forward. He didn't speak. He signed. The screens changed, displaying footage from the warehouse. Logs. Messages. Mason's voice, caught in a recording, giving orders without knowing it would one day be heard. Mrs. Hart's voice read Noah's signed words aloud, steady and clear. Noah says this was never about money, she said. It was about control. About fear. Mason shouted. You can't trust him. He's unstable. Noah signed again. Mrs. Hart continued. Noah says silence does not mean weakness. It means memory. Security moved in. Mason's face twisted with anger and disbelief. You think you won? He hissed at Noah as he was escorted away. Noah met his eyes. He signed one last time. You lost the moment you thought I would stay quiet. When the doors closed behind Mason, the room stayed silent. Then, slowly, people began to breathe again. Later, in the quiet after the storm, Noah sat alone in Adrian's office. Are you okay? Adrian asked. Noah nodded. I didn't enjoy it. That's good, Adrian said. Revenge that feels good doesn't last. Leo joined them, leaning against the wall. The search team followed a new lead. A safe house. We're close. Noah's chest tightened. Really? Leo smiled. Really? That night, Noah stood by his window again. The city lights blinked back at him, steady and patient. Revenge had not made him cruel. It had made room for truth. And now, with the final lie breaking apart, only one thing remained. Finding his brother. The city felt softer after the truth came out. Not kinder, just clearer. Noah walked through the office halls without lowering his eyes now. People greeted him. Some nodded with respect. Others smiled, unsure but sincere. He returned every greeting the same way, with calm hands and steady breath. The past no longer chased him. But the future waited. Leo asked first. They were standing on the rooftop of Storm Industries, the wind gentle, the city wide below them. Leo didn't rush. He never did. I care about you, Leo said. I always have. Noah watched his hands carefully. I won't protect you because you're fragile, Leo continued. I'll walk beside you because you're strong. Noah signed slowly. I don't want to be owned. Leo smiled softly. Neither do I. Later that evening, Adrian asked too. Not with words but with honesty. You changed me, Adrian said quietly in his office. You made me listen. Noah tilted his head. I don't know how to love gently, Adrian admitted. But I would learn. Noah's chest tightened. 2 alphas. 2 paths. For years, Noah had been chosen by others, promised, claimed, discarded. This time would be different. That night the call came. They had found Eli. Alive. The hospital room smelled like clean sheets and quiet hope. Eli looked thinner, tired, but unmistakably himself. Noah stepped inside, hands shaking. Eli opened his eyes and smiled. Still using your hands? Eli whispered. Noah laughed silently and cried openly. They signed to each other, fast and messy, words overlapping, hands bumping, emotions spilling free. I looked everywhere. I knew you would. I'm here now. Healing didn't finish in that room. But it began there. Days passed. Eli recovered. Mason faced trial. The truth settled into place. One evening, Noah stood between Adrian and Leo on a quiet street lit by soft lamps. He took a breath. Then he signed. I won't choose because I'm afraid to be alone. Both alphas watched him, listening. I won't choose because you saved me. He met their eyes, one after the other. I choose because you see me. Neither Adrian nor Leo spoke. They nodded. That was enough. Noah smiled. For the first time, his future wasn't something decided for him. It was something he stepped into willingly. The city was awake, but quiet in a way Noah liked. Lights flickered along the streets, reflecting on glass buildings like tiny stars. It had been months since Mason's betrayal, since Eli's rescue, since Noah had felt the weight of fear pressing down on him. Now the weight was gone, replaced by something new, something steady. Noah walked through the office one last time before taking the day off. People greeted him warmly. Some nodded, some smiled. None whispered. None doubted. He stopped at his desk, touching the bracelet Eli gave him. It was worn but strong, just like he had become. Adrian appeared then, standing quietly behind him. His presence was still powerful, commanding attention, but there was softness in his gaze now. You've changed things, Adrian said. Not just here. Not just for me. Noah signed slowly, carefully. I've learned how to stand. Adrian smiled faintly. And yet, you're still letting others in. Noah nodded. He did not speak aloud, but his hands told the truth. I choose who stays. Leo appeared next, leaning casually against the doorway. His eyes sparkled with warmth. You always did, he said softly. Even when you didn't know it yourself. Noah's chest swelled. He signed. I'm ready. Adrian and Leo exchanged a glance, then back to him. No one spoke. No one needed to. It wasn't about possession. It was about presence, support, love without chains. For the first time, Noah realized love didn't have to be frightening. It didn't have to demand sacrifice of self. It could exist quietly, as steady as the breath in your lungs. The day passed. Meetings were finished. Files were closed. Noah went home and found Eli waiting. His twin brother's smile was tired but real, and for the first time, Noah allowed himself to feel complete. They sat together on the floor of Noah's small apartment, hands moving fast as they told each other stories of months lost, secrets kept, fears survived. Noah's hands shook from joy and relief. Eli's did too. After a long silence, Noah signed to Eli, I'm not alone anymore. Eli smiled. Nor am I. The next morning, Noah returned to work with calm certainty. Mason was gone. The company healed from the shock. Employees whispered, but now it was admiration. Respect. Adrian approached Noah's desk. He held a cup of tea warm in his hand. I wanted to make sure you had this, he said softly, placing it near Noah without breaking eye contact. Noah signed, smiling. Thank you. Leo arrived moments later, holding a folder. And I brought this, he said lightly. He set it down and gave Noah a small, reassuring nod. Noah's hands lifted, moving confidently. You're both here. I can breathe. The city outside glowed in the sunlight. Noah felt it seep into him, warming him from the inside. Weeks later, Eli had returned fully to health. Noah began teaching sign language classes for anyone in the office who wanted to learn. Quietly, confidently, he shared the voice that had once been silence. Adrian and Leo remained by his side, not as owners, not as saviors, but as companions. One alpha's calm steadiness, one alpha's warm encouragement. Two pillars for a life Noah built for himself, not because he was told to, but because he chose it. Noah often sat at the window in the evenings watching the city. The air was quiet. The lights reflected off the streets. And in those moments, Noah knew something he had never known before. Silence was not weakness. Silence could be strength, could be love, could be freedom. He lifted his hands and signed to the empty room. I am me. I am whole. I am free. And for the first time, the words were not whispered or hidden. They were bold, confident, and true. Adrian approached silently, hands resting lightly on Noah's shoulder. Leo stood beside them, smiling softly. Noah looked at both of them, heart steady. He signed again. I choose myself, and those I love. They nodded. The wind outside carried the city's quiet hum into the office, a soft chorus to Noah's declaration. Noah smiled. For years he had waited for safety, for protection, for rescue. Now he realized he had been carrying it all along, in his hands, in his mind, in his courage. And the silence that once held him back had become his greatest voice. A voice that moved without sound. A voice that could heal, that could stand, that could love freely. And Noah Vale, Omega, survivor, brother, and heart unbroken, finally knew he was home. in himself, with his family, and with love that had waited patiently for him all along.